But Dave, we're moving on. Top 10.
Top 10.
Top 10. Got to keep it from last week. You and Sean did that, so I guess I'll keep it going. But here's our top 10 coaches for this year. At number 10, the Detroit Pistons, SVG, Stan Van Gundy. Then at number 9, we've got the Jazz in his rightful spot now with Quinn Snyder. He was ranked criminally low last year, Dave.
Yeah.
Let's be honest with that.
Probably.
Then number 8, the Mavericks in Rick Carlisle. Number 7, the Hawks with Mike Budenholzer. Number 6, the Rockets with Mike D'Antoni. Number 5, the Timberwolves with Tommy Thibodeau.
I like how it's D'Antoni.
D'Antoni. Then number 4, the Miami Heat with Eric Spoelstra. Number 3, putting some respect on the name in this one, the Celtics, Brad Stevens. Number 2, pains me to say, because he won a finals from the locker room. He's a dear friend of mine, Dave. The Warriors, Steve Kerr. And number 1 for this year, only separated by a point from Steve Kerr, the Spurs in Greg Popovich.
And can we just get a clap here, because Ricky just counted from 30 to 1
without
missing a beat.
Sean
failed this 5 times.
I was nervous, Dave.
5 times Sean failed.
I'll be honest. Going through each of these, I was nervous. That's why I'm like, through each one, I'm looking at the number like, don't fuck up, don't fuck up, don't fuck up. So I was sweating some bullets over here.
Fair enough.
I want to start with number 10, though.
Yeah, we gave a little preview in the last segment.
Kind of a little segue of like, he's the one I think drops off. Stan Van is 10 now, you know this.
Yep.
And do you think, like, let's be honest, we overhyped the Pistons last year.
We were riding high.
We were riding high after the playoff series. Much like this year, I think the T-Wolves are that team.
Yeah.
The T-Wolves are the overhyped team for the Fast Break podcast. What do you think with Stan Van this year? Does he move up in this ranking, or is Stan Van, like I said in the last segment, is he the one to fall out from this top 10 group?
He is sadly the guy. He's the odd man out. I think this is a lot of respect. He's a veteran coach in the league. He's been there, done that.
Went to an NBA Finals with the Magic.
Went to a Finals, unable to win, obviously, but still.
Well, you ran into Kobe.
I mean, you run into Kobe, you're going to lose. You're going to lose that
That's
one.
why he gets 2 jerseys that get retired, Dave. Not just one, he gets 2.
But yeah, Stan Van, for as much love as I like to give him and respect, what we saw last year was a colossal disappointment. We watched the team just be incredibly dysfunctional, and one injury basically ruined them. He figured out that he can't play his young, stud of a center in Andre Drummond late in games. He cut him out of time. Like, there's just a lot of things that did not play well for Stan Van Gundy last year. I think, I think we weren't the only ones who had the Pistons with high expectations going into that year. But really, it was just across the board a disappointment. And he, like I said, a lot of it's respect, but a lot of it is like, we really expect better out of you. I really do.
And I mean, with this conversation just for Stan Van, I kind of wish Sean was here.
Yeah.
The only reason why, Sean had him in the top 10.
True.
You had him at 12, I had 15.
Yeah.
So, I mean, already I'm kind of pushing Stan Van into that almost lower half.
Absolutely.
Of coaches. And the one guy that, to me, the way Sean had Stan Van was how I viewed Rick Carlisle. Who Rick Carlisle, 8 in our rankings, I had him 10. Because I looked at it to where it was like, you know what? He's a coach where, is he a top 10 caliber coach? Yes.
Hell yeah.
The thing is that I look at is I wonder if it's like, you look at Popovich, you look at Kerr, you look at Stevens, Spoelstra, Thibodeau, D'Antoni, Budenholzer, you go, they are for sure top 10 coaches. But then I go to Rick Carlisle and I go, I'm going to put you in top 10. I'm just going to put you in at 10. As kind of a respect thing. Like, you've done your due, you've been a great coach for the Mavericks, but I feel like we're towards the end with Rick Carlisle. And I mean, people are going to say, well, Ricky's been coaching for years. Of course, we're near the end.
Anytime soon. What are you talking about?
I feel like we're at the end of, once Dirk leaves and this Mavericks team kind of falls off a little bit.
Yeah.
Then we start to push them out.
Much?
I think they fall out a little.
I think the transition's been fairly well.
And another reason why I did the respect thing of keeping him in the top 10 of what he was able to do, much like you mentioned earlier with, I can't remember which coach it was, with the D-League stuff. The guy taking the D-Leaguers. And,
the Grizzlies.
Yeah, the Grizzlies, where Carlisle's done the same thing. Yogi Ferrell turned him, was able to get something out of Yogi Ferrell. Was able to bring in these young guys who were kind of the misfit toys.
I say Seth Curry, it was like Really? Everybody passed on Seth Curry? We'll bring him into town. We'll give you a tryout, workout, D-League, and then just boom.
The island of misfit toys. And Dirk is just the Lion King.
Yeah, I mean, Dorian Finney-Smith, there's potential for in the future. There's a lot of these younger guys who are still good. And then you add in the veteran presence of like J.J. Barea and Dirk on that team. In business, Harrison Barnes has basically become a standalone stud. And I think people still want to picture him bricking shots in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That isn't Harrison Barnes that plays for the Mavs, and they need to get that idea out of their head. He really developed nicely under this Mavs team. They brought in Nerlens Noel at mid-season. That seems to have been a really good move, a really cheap move for them, I think. And he made that mistake with the contract there in the offseason.
Yeah, he didn't take the money.
Like, again, this is a team, and they went out and got Dennis Smith Jr. Freaking Dennis Smith Jr. in the draft. So across the board, their roster's loaded. Rick Carlisle, I think, is one of the most respected coaches in the league in the past. And like you said, what he was able to do with a roster full of the what do you call it? The unwanted toys?
The misfit toys.
The misfit toys. Like, that perfectly describes the team. And like, even on like the Mavs subreddit, it was like, are we tanking? Are we going for a playoff spot? It was that game. They were like counting back and forth as the season kind of came to a close.
Ended up missing by what?
Just a couple of games.
Eight games.
As soon as it became clear that they were tanking, it was hardcore tanking.
Because they finished 34 games back. Portland was 26.
Yeah. Like I said, during that, from All-Star break for the next couple of weeks,
which one are we going?
Exactly. They were very in no man's land. So I like it. I like the way they're transitioning this team as well, because remember, this is a team that's 5 years removed from being a world champion, right? 5 years? I can't count.
It was 2020 or 2010, 2011
Okay,
season.
so a little bit longer than that.
Yeah.
But still, you still have...
Since then, it's been... So he won the championship in 2011. Since then, only has missed the playoffs twice, 2013 and this season.
Yep.
The rest of them have been bounced in the first round.
Yeah, and Dirk obviously wasn't healthy this season, but you see a team transitioning from a previous identity of Dirk and amazingly talented veterans to now this younger core building up almost seemingly overnight with Dennis Smith Jr., Harrison Barnes, Nerlens Noel, Yogi, Seth. Like I'm probably disrespecting some people on this team, but still, that core right there gives you up. Devin Harris, quality player, and Dorian Finney-Smith, Dwight Powell. Like, nobody here is trash, and that's the thing. It's like I wholeheartedly expect them to pull some more gems out of the D-League. Their player development is top notch, bar none. Like, it's up there. So honestly, I can't speak highly enough of Rick Carlisle. Obviously, like, he's not in championship contention now, but this is a team that I don't expect to see that downturn after losing a legend of Dirk. And even as Dirk's gotten older, like, his play has gotten, it's downgraded a little bit. He was still solid for his role given, but like, I see this as a smooth transition, not the sharp fall off a cliff story that we watch for every other superstar in the NBA.
And kind of the last guy I want to bring up, and the only reason...
The last guy?
Well, the last guy, like the bottom three we have of Carlisle, Snyder, and Gundy, I think are one thing.
Yep.
The rest of them, 7 through 1, you can all clump them together. Because like you mentioned, like how close they are.
Yeah.
Like you can have them positioned anywhere, and it's like, okay, I can see that. Like, obviously, Pop, Kerr, Steven, Spoelstra, your top 4.
Yeah, I think
maybe Thibodeau's in
clear.
there. Like, it's one, like, maybe Dan Antoni's in there. I think the top 4 to me are solidified with that. But even with Budenholzer and that, we'll get into all of them. But, like, Quinn Snyder, the thing I want to ask with him is last year ranked criminally low for us.
Yep.
Is this year kind of the overreaction before he gets bumped down because he doesn't have Gordon Hayward this year? Like, how much is that going to hurt Quinn Snyder? Because he is a good coach. He's a good coach. I liked him this year.
Part-time sociopath.
Even watching him, well, he's not quite Mike Bray, though, where it's the loan shark where it's like, hey, where's my money?
Yeah.
But, like, how much is it going to be, hey, we like you as a coach. I've liked what I saw with him this year. But how much is it going to be, Gordon Hayward not having that kind of knocked him next year with the rankings?
Gordon Hayward was an all-around complete player. That's the thing. Like, it's very hard to get those type of guys, obviously, and he took his money. He went to Boston.
But if he's able to make the playoffs again this year without Gordon Hayward.
If he can take a team led by, Rudy Gobert, Ricky Rubio.
Jumpin' Joe. Jumping Joe and ISO Joe.
Jumping Joe Ingles and ISO Joe. And if, according to, Sean, Derek Favors makes the comeback of the fucking century.
They're going to be jump jiving Waylon into the playoffs, Dave.
Again, they have a chance to be a very good team. Very good, but again, have no illusions. They will not beat the Warriors. They will not beat the Rockets. They will not beat... I don't want the Spurs.
The Spurs.
No, probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not in a series, but they could. Who knows? Wild things happen, man. Wild things happen in the NBA.
I mean, the Grizzlies beat the Spurs years ago.
You can never count it out. That's the thing I love about the NBA in a series.
I mean, hey, Derrick Rose goes down, the 76ers beat us.
Up.
I mean, can't erase that from your mind, Dave.
Nope.
But I mean, he's the one to me where
he's got
a
lot to prove. This year
I don't want to see him drop out of the top 10, but I feel like almost like
if you take away the crutch of Gordon Hayward,
is that going to drop it?
How does he adapt? How does he does he enable Rodney Hood to become the complete star of scoring in this team? Because Rudy Gobert, we know what he is. The man is a defensive god,
block machine,
and he can still get some putbacks. He can still get some points, but the offense has to come from somewhere without Gordon Hayward. The defense, obviously, on the perimeter is a question mark at times. So, with Joe Ingles stepping in, Alex Burks has a chance to get some solid playing time again. Rubio, though, can he run this offense?
I was going to say, don't forget about Ricky Rubio.
Donovan Mitchell, who was a stud in summer league.
That could be a steal.
Where's that going to turn out for them? I like the team. I think they're a bottom end of the playoff team, maybe a middle playoff team in the West, but yeah, it's very much a prove it year for him without Gordon Hayward to see how he adapts. I don't know that I would necessarily have him falling out of the top 10 just for losing Gordon Hayward, unless they win like 30 games.
And when I say fall out of the top 10, because he's at 9, it could be like he's at 11 next year.
Potentially.
That is technically a fall out, but it's not like
unless
a huge
he completely is like, I don't know how to play this game without having Gordon Hayward.
Which I don't think will happen.
Yeah, I give him. I'd like to give him more credit than that. So I think that unless his team whiffs the playoffs hard, I think he's a smart guy. He has used his talent wisely. The locker room is never in question. I'm very comfortable with him as one of the top coaches in the league.
And the West is going to be harder this year. The Nuggets, Nuggets missed.
Yeah.
The Pelicans have gotten better.
Yep.
The Kings look to improve. The Wolves got better.
The Kings
a lot better.
are probably not making the playoffs, but they're going to be looking good.
And you got the Trailblazers and Grizzlies that are there. Jazz were a 5th seed last year, so we'll see how many wins, losses not having Gordon takes away from them. But the rest of the 7. I want to ask you, where do you want to start between them? We could go anywhere within this top 7.
I think the guy I'm going to have the easiest case just to say is Mike Budenholzer, because we're saying one of the worst teams. We all had him
at 7. Every single one of us had him at 7.
And he's going to have one of the worst rosters in the NBA. So to be a great coach and be that well regarded, the Spurs of the East has always been the joke.
I'm going to say this to you, Hawks fans. You had the worst record in our rankings until coaches.
Yeah.
You had the worst rankings, then coaches happened, and you're not the worst anymore. That's what Mike Budenholzer brings to this team.
And I think that a lot of people in the league kind of question it, well, how can you have him so high when his team is performed so poorly last year, and the expectation is they're going to be shit again this year.
I'll put it this way, and this is a comparison that I'll make, is we've got Popovich at 1, but let's be honest, when we look at the playoff rankings in the West this year, some people may have the Spurs as a 3 seed or as a 4 seed even, depending on how you because the Warriors are going to be number 1.
Yep.
People could see the Rockets, what they added could be number 2.
Could be.
And then the Thunder, what they added, could they make a jump?
Could the Timberwolves?
I'm not saying the Spurs are going to fall off, but yeah, he's number 1 in our rankings.
Yeah.
But they might be the 3rd, 4th best team in the West next year.
No, that's 100%.
And that's
fair.
what Budenholzer. This team might not make the playoffs, but that doesn't mean he's not that doesn't mean he's a terrible head coach.
Right. No, I think it's a reset of the roster. We'll have to see how he can turn it over
too, because like we said with Quinn Snyder, even if
Quinn Snyder lost 1 man.
Yeah, I know, but let's say
this Hawks team is a shell of where they were.
But from what I'm saying is, let's say that plays into if Quinn Snyder misses the playoffs. Maybe it doesn't knock him as much because we have Budenholzer in the top 7 with the roster that he had. And this was a team that they were the 5th seed last year, though. They were the 5th seed in the East. And the guy that I really look at here is the guy that we have at 5.
Yeah.
And I look at Tom Thibodeau because I had him at 5. You had him at 8. Sean also had him at 5.
Yep.
I know I'm on the side of...
Tell me on why he should be higher, because I'm the one who had him lowest.
Yeah, for me, I look at it to where maybe it's the little bit of the Bulls in me where we shouldn't have gotten rid of him. We got rid of him because we got rid of him because ownership didn't like him. That's basically why we got rid of him. He is a great defensive head coach. He knows how to does he play his players a little bit too much, like too many minutes? Yeah. Does he kill knees a little bit? Maybe a little. Why would Jamal Crawford want to sign up for that? Who knows? Maybe you got to ask Jamal. But I mean, the thing I look at, I feel like the Timberwolves last year, we hyped him a little bit because of Thibodeau. It was like, we got Tom Thibodeau.
He thought he was going to instantly solve all the problems.
Even fans, we going to make a run. Timberwolves, even in the comment section,
they were angry.
We were getting hypes. Yep. We were getting hyped for the Timberwolves. I feel like we were a year too soon with that. Now the hype is there because you got Jimmy, your Cat developing. Wiggins is the big question mark to me.
Absolutely. But you had Jeff Teague, you had Taj Gibson.
You had Teague, you had Gibson, you had Jamal Crawford off the bench.
You have 4 amazingly good vets added to this young roster.
You added veterans, and 2 of them know how to play in Tom Thibodeau's system. And to me, I still think he's a top 5 coach. I mean, the only coach that I put in the top 5 over him is Dan Antoni, who I had at 6.
Dan Tony. You keep adding
saying Antoni.
Dan
Antoni, but Dan
Brutal
Tony,
every time I hear it.
He's the only one that I would put at 5 over Thibodeau if I had to move him.
I did have Dan Tony at 5, personally. I just think that, look, I think the world of Tom Thibodeau, I think you are just very close to the Bulls thing, which kind of adds to it. And I'm a Bulls fan too.
He's still a top, he's
still a great coach.
Top 6.
He's still a great coach, but I think the fact that the poor performance on defense last year kind of exposed him to maybe, while being a good defensive coach.
That was his first year working with the team too.
And I understand that. I'm just saying, while being a good defensive coach, I don't think he can make miracles out of, people who aren't willing to make an effort there. And that might be showing a little bit more of Cat and Wiggins and Zach LaVine of who they actually are versus,
And they get rid of Zach LaVine.
They did move Zach out of town, but it's still the question of, can you really teach defense to people who aren't willing to learn?
Yeah.
Are they willing to learn? Is it a lack of...
Look at Kyrie.
Yeah.
Kyrie doesn't want to learn defense, and he didn't learn defense.
Well, I mean, he hasn't really had a coach who wanted to teach him defense.
I mean, Mike Brown was one that he tried. Mike Brown tried.
Yeah.
And I'll get it. Mike Brown isn't one of the Steve Kerrs, the Popoviches, the Stevens, the
He helped Steve Kerr.
He did help Steve Kerr, but
I give him a half point.
I feel and this is off topic a little bit, but I feel like Kyrie slapped in the face to Mike Brown, where it was he was trying to help him, and
Maybe.
Kyrie was like, "No, get out of here. I am the star. I know better than you." But Thibodeau, I just feel last year,
I feel like he didn't have a great impact other than abusing his player's body.
We expected
for
him
40 minutes. We
expected him to change the world.
Yeah,
we expected him to move the world in 1 year.
I didn't see much of anything.
Well, it goes to the saying, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah.
And this year, as long as there's improvement from this team,
he has everything that he ever wanted to put together.
Yep, he's got the veterans that he wants. Those younger players actually know him now as a coach, know his style. But the thing I want to look into is the top 4. Because these
Can I just get out one little quick thing about D'Antoni? Because I don't want
to skip over Mike D'Antoni. You're right. Go ahead.
Dude was a stud. You see, I think the funniest thing is when he has a point
James
guard.
Harden was a perfect marriage.
When he has a point guard who wants to play his system, it's freaking magical out there.
Like the Game of Zones, where it's all these books are offenses.
Yep.
What about defense? What?
What?
What's defense?
That's not. It doesn't even register for him. And I love the fact that we got to see this because he got shit on so hard when he didn't have that point guard that fit his system. And it's he wasn't really he wasn't even a good coach. Look, when he doesn't have somebody who perfectly fits, nothing works. That's what a system is.
Yeah.
You have to have the right pieces, and that's why I shit on Hoiberg, because he doesn't have the right pieces, but he doesn't adapt at all.
Yeah.
But even when he would have all the right pieces, it wouldn't work like this. This is something where Mike D'Antoni was just ahead of his times, perhaps. how quickly that team clicked. They got the right pieces in there. James Harden flourished in the system, and everybody had their question marks going in this year. And again, I called it. Like James Harden, Russell Westbrook both put up triple doubles the whole season. Like this is how it's going to go down, and it was beautiful. And I want to give him credit because it was such a level of success and so many people had doubted him, and the players on that team have been like, they won't hold up for a whole season. They're overrated. No, it was a great team. It was a great run. And I'm very, very curious to see what happens by adding Chris Paul. How's he going to coach that duo? How's this team going to work? But again, I think personally for me, it's the top 4 are kind of in their own realm.
They're right there. And the thing about them is Pop and Kerr separated by 1 point.
Yep.
Because they were 1-2. And like the only one that had different was I personally had Kerr number 1. You and Sean had Popovich number 1.
Yep.
But then it's like, 5 points separate the 2 and 3, but Stevens and Spoelstra separated by a point between us.
Exactly.
And the thing is, you can have between the top 2 and the 3-4, take either one and I'm happy. Like if I have either one, I'm happy they're our head coach.
I'd be thrilled.
The only thing when it came to 3-4 with Stevens and Spoelstra, I think you're on the same page as me, is I like Spoelstra. I respect what he does. I respect what he did with that team, getting them, like, coaching them and the heater that they were on with Waders County. This is, D. Wade can come back, but this is my team.
Yeah.
This is my team.
I love that.
But I look at Brad Stevens and I go, you got to respect what he did with that team. You got to respect what he did with the Celtics this year and how far he brought them.
One Rondo injury away from being knocked out in the first round in a sweep.
One Rondo injury from being a sweep for the Bulls, and I will never let Celtics fans live that down.
Hell no.
But still, you got to respect what
Sorry, Celtics fans.
You got to respect what he did this season with the Celtics.
They exceeded all expectations this year. IT was phenomenal. Al Horford, I think I think maybe slept on a little bit. His passing as a big man, his ability in the pick and roll, the pick and pop to play off of IT, defense depth. The only thing that kind of killed me about him was it was a very one-dimensional game, and he didn't really. The only time we got to see some variance was during that one game or that one series where IT was injured at the end of the year, and it was kind of interesting to see how it played out. But again, it took a lot of struggles. It took a long time to figure out how to play without IT. I get it. He's your star. You want to play around him. But like you have very talented players on that team outside of him, and you weren't able to figure that out quickly. Concerning. The fact he almost got knocked out by the Bulls in the first round because he hadn't won a playoff series yet. Concerning.
And then almost got knocked out by the Wizards.
Yep.
Could have been knocked out by the Wizards.
Drained John Wall.
Went to 7.
Yep.
Like you gotta put it 1-7, and then faces the best player in the NBA and gentleman sweep.
Yeah, he got dad dicked on. That's what happens. That's what happens. I like Stevens. I think he's a little overrated publicly, but I think that's just because Celtics fans are very loud.
Yeah, and the thing I find funny with our rankings this year for coaches, is our top 5 coaches. Stayed the same.
Really?
The same 5 coaches were in the top 5 last year.
Nice.
Thibodeau stayed the same at 5.
Yep.
The only 2 differences, Spoelstra and Stevens flipped.
Well, Spoelstra didn't get off to such a cold start. He wouldn't have had the heater. That's the thing you gotta understand. It was a 50-50 season.
Last year was Spoelstra was 3, Stevens was 4.
Yeah.
And then the only other difference, Pop and Kerr switched.
Yep.
And kind of the last thing we got to look at is the top 2, Kerr and Popovich.
But one of them was there for the whole season.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We get my side of it. Why I put Kerr first. I think that like even if he was out there, best coach in the NBA, and then even the joke of that I usually make that he was so good that he's like, I'll just coach you from the locker room. Now I admit you can do that when you have the team that Golden State has. But for Popovich, there's no, like, me putting him at 2, there's no knocking him. Like, I'm not going to be upset that Popovich got number 1 in our rankings because I feel like either one of these 2, Pop or Kerr, if you're like, number 1, I go, okay, I can respect that. I can see why you put him number 1. And why did you put Pop? Because you had Popovich number 1.
I had Pop at 1 because Pop is basketball at this point. He has been such a legacy. He's a staple. The Spurs have been so consistently good. It's almost mind-blowing how, and I mean, they've obviously gotten lucky with the way they picked up Tim Duncan, the way they grabbed both, I was going to say, both Manu, Patty Mills, Tony Parker, like the way they've drafted over the years, it's just from a top-down. The San Antonio Spurs are like the ultimate franchise of what you want to be in the NBA. And a lot of it has to do with Pop checking players' egos at the door. This is a team that gets a lot of players who are veterans who come in and take lesser roles. And he convinces them that it's for the better of the team. And at the end of the day, it gets you closer to a ring than anything you do on your own will. And that's kind of like the Pop mystique. He's one of the best at what he does. He runs a solid system, good rotations. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of smart play. If you make a stupid play, you're going to ride the bench. He is not afraid to call timeouts, to sit your ass down and be like, why did you even think that was no, get on the bench. Go sit on the bench. I'll talk to you after the game. Like, I love the confidence in him. I love the quick judgments he has. Like, he is a genius in basketball. And the only thing I can fault Pop for is the fact that
set in his ways.
He's set in his ways. And that really hurts me because when we watched that series against the Warriors happen and you watch that injury happen to freaking Kawhi, and it hurt so bad because they were rolling at that point. The Warriors were knocked off balance.
They might have even beaten the Spurs or beaten
game
the Warriors
one,
maybe.
Yeah, so game one, no
they
doubt.
They could have taken it to maybe 7.
Could have been a series. Absolutely could have been a series. But as soon as Kawhi was done, it was, okay, so how are we going to win this series? What are we going to play around? And you got a legendary performance on Manu Ginobili, which was just awesome to watch him because at his age, nobody expected him to be able to be that good still. Yeah. The biggest question, though, was like, okay, but we got that guy, LaMarcus Aldridge. Remember back a couple of years ago? He's pretty good. He's pretty good, like a top 3 power forward in the league. How about we try dusting him off a little, make him the primary focus of this offense? No, that's not what we're doing. We're not going to play through him. We're not going to run sets for him. We're going to play our ball. And that kind of killed me a little because I like that Jonathan Simmons got a chance to shine, but Jonathan Simmons isn't anybody. He's a guy who you groomed up, but he's a guy who was a role player and a D-leaguer for the majority of his life. He was never a standout star. Yes, he had a good story. They played DeJounte Murray, as their like starting point guard for some of this series. It was just they were so set in their ways, and I feel like it's almost like a brainwashed cult of the Spurs. But it's that way for a reason. He's had such success with that. It's hard to get him to trade off there.
Yeah.
That's just my take on it.
But the thing that I bring up about him, and you might see a little jump cut there, we are going to go a little bit over. This is going to be the longest segment of the podcast, Dave. Going over 30 minutes here. But the thing while you were talking to where I was like, I respect Pop for, and this is me comparing to now the NBA to the NFL. Yeah. Where Pop is a coach, when you said like someone makes a mistake, or even where I feel like if someone on his team were going to be suspended, he would be the one to say, no, you know what? Sit next to you. Get to sit here. You get to watch your teams play until you think about what you did. Yeah. And that's something to me. We're seeing it in the NFL like right now. Any team, there are players that do things where we talk about in the media where how long are we going to let them play before they get the message? Pop to me is like, and that's what I respect, those coaches to where it's like, you did something wrong, you're not doing the right thing, I will sit you. I will not have the kind of like, I'm not going to be pressured by
You're not bigger than the game.
Yeah, I'm not going to be pressured by the media, by the GM, by the fans to start a guy that shouldn't be out there or play a guy that shouldn't be out there. I will sit you if I have to. And that's why the one thing that when you were saying, that's what I took. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I love about Pop.
And
where it's
and
like, this is my team, not your team.
He's the only guy who we talk about having a coaching tree. You're always watching that Spurs bench because you know that's the next coaches in the NBA. Those are the people who are going to get their chances.
You know that it's like, hey, you know what? Those are going to be the ones that, like Budenholzer. Who is a top 10 coach in our rankings.
Yep.
He is
sadly
top 10.
Gentry, also came off that bench, but let's not talk about him too much.
I mean, I'm trying to see on the Wikipedia if they have the complete coaching tree because even I didn't even know this. He's from the Chicagoland area.
Yeah.
He was East Chicago, which is technically Indiana, but I'll give it to you. Give it to him. But
in this case only.
I'll give it to him. But I mean, yeah, I can't disrespect like the other rankings, like the LeBron KD one. It was a lot heated of like, why do you have him number one? No, you're wrong.
Yeah.
This one, it's like we can agree. Some people like Kerr more. Some people like Popovich more.
I mean, yeah.
They're both great coaches.
What Kerr did was amazing. I mean, he basically was like, so this is the way we're going to play basketball. And we're going to roll everyone. Everyone. It's not going to be competitive.
Just like the Game of Zones, and we're going to be like, so good.
Yeah. I mean, what the Warriors have done has never been done in history. It's incredible. But again, Mike Brown was the head coach of that team for 80% of this year.
Yeah.
Maybe I might be off on the percentage.
Most of the playoffs,
for a fair
too.
percentage of this year, it
Most of the
was Mike
playoffs,
Brown.
too.
The Steve Kerr system. But Mike Brown was doing the coaching, so it's
Steve
very
Kerr
hard
was
to...
feeding the stuff through Mike Brown, but it was Mike Brown actually making this unless they were Boston Red Soxing it.
Oh,
and they had
stealing signs?
No, they had the Apple Watch, where it's
God.
like Steve Kerr's telling him to call a timeout. And he calls looks at the watch.
Jeez.
Okay, Steve's telling me what to do. Put Zaza in. Okay, Zaza, get over here. Coach wants it. I'm calling in the lefty. But any final thoughts on this top 10 before we wrap up the podcast?
I honestly love it because it's what we get of a coach is more than any individual player. Their impact is greater, but also it takes a little bit extra time to appreciate. I think that not a lot of these coaches get the respect they deserve, and that's why I love that we get to highlight guys like Mike Budenholzer, who won't be on a great team but is a great coach. Guys like Thibodeau, who maybe underachieved last year, but now have every right to be there. And let's see if they can pull the trigger now that they're there. It's just a lot of what makes it up is just the story and what they've done, their history, and the guys around them. And I think it's one of the most influential, positions in the sport is if you have a great head coach, it impacts the whole organization. And just the value there is incredible.
Well, this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you thought of our top 10 in this one. And if you're listening on Blog Talk Radio, let us know what you thought about everything 1 through 30. Getting it right there. A little bit of house cleaning here at the end. Check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. Dave and I will be doing one for November, your birthday month.
Absolutely.
We're going to be doing one. And what it is just us kind of shooting the shit, kind of talking about anything that we want to for our patrons who want to go and support us. For $1, you can get that audio. For $2, you can get the video. Even for $10, you want to be on the fast break.
You want to jump on the fast break?
We get the comments all the time. Hey guys, how do I get on the Fast Break podcast? How do I talk to you guys? Patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. Most Valuable Podcast. That's how you do it. You check out that link down in the description. I want to thank you guys for watching and listening. Sean will be back next week because Dave, what are we doing next week?
We're doing team overall rankings.
We're doing team overall rankings 1 through 30 in the NBA. Want to thank you guys for watching. And as always, have a good day, everybody.